Hey, what is going on? All of my conservative friends in the state of Tennessee, it is Brandon Lewis here, and I'm excited to be here. We got a new year. We got a new year coming your way, and we also have the legislative session that's about to kick off in Nashville, Tennessee, and we've got lots of good things that I hope are rolling down the pike. I think we can claw back even more medical freedom. We've got our eyes on school choice and lots of things going on, maybe even with social media censorship and illegal immigration. We'll be covering that because we are the eyes and the ears for the real conservatives all across the volunteer state. I've got a 2 o'clock appointment, and so I'm going to have to hurry through things. So I appreciate all of you joining me. If you would, in the comments section, if you would leave where you're watching from, anywhere in Tennessee. We got our first one here, hi from Greenville. Michelle Hudson, thank you, darling, for watching and being with us. And if you're watching from anywhere else, if you'll leave in the comment section, and as I roll through these stories, whatever just plops into your mind, leave it in the comment section. I'm not going to waste any more time, but I am going to tell you to go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com and subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll talk about a few other things as we go through. And do check out our podcast, Tennessee Conservative. I think it's called the Tennessee Conservative, Apple, Spotify, anywhere. I think we had like 1,500 downloads, which for us is pretty darn good, because who really cares about state and local stuff? Apparently Alan Whiteman does. Hello from Gallatin, and so does Stephen Teague. Hello, Parsons, Tennessee. I appreciate all of you. Let's get right into the news. We're just going to start off the new year with a bang. Oh, there's a little link in there. If you want to help us with our year-end campaign, I figure, there's 12 days of Christmas. We're going to talk about the year-end campaign one more time. You can go there, click that link. I'll talk about that in the middle here in a moment. All right, here we go. $200 million TNInvestco program winds down, serving as a cautionary tale for some Tennessee lawmakers. Listen to this. This is perfect government, right? TNInvestco was a 2009 post-recession scheme that had bipartisan support, where Tennessee taxpayers would chip in $200 million to create jobs for potential startups in Tennessee. Now, zero specific goals were set for the program. Only 1,880 jobs were created at the cost of $91,000 a job. Could you imagine, before you hired someone in your business, if you had to pay $91,000 just to hire them? That's a bad program. The state has only recouped $28 million, leaving you, the Tennessee taxpayer, holding the bag for $176 million. It goes to show you the government sucks at spending your money to do anything regarding economic development. It'd be a lot better if they just gave you back your taxpayer dollars. Private firms were paid about $14 million each for investments and to cover management fees. Each made about $3 million in fees alone. Proceeds from any profits were to be split 50-50 by the state and the firm. And of course, the firms got their money, but the state of Tennessee and the citizens never really got theirs. Put another way, if an investment group puts in $12 million and only recoups $6 million, it still makes $3 million. The state, which puts up all the funding, loses $9 million. That's the kind of arrangement they made. And this is so funny. When the bill was initially introduced, they said this, and this is the late Republican Senator Charles Sargent. This is about two things: the growth of small business and creating jobs. It's always about creating jobs, but more often it's about giving money to investment bankers or these big groups, or in the case of Ford Motor Company, it's about giving away a bunch of money to a company that really doesn't care much about Tennessee values. You know what we paid to Ford Motor Company per job? Looks like it's about $152,000 per job. So it's looking even rougher than TNInvestco, and I'm sure that when we look at it 10 years down the road, we won't be able to point at that and say, hey, we recouped our money either. Amazon got $12,000 or $17,500 in cash grants back in 2018. So as we start looking back at having 24% fewer small businesses, at least the last time we reported the numbers, than we did when Bill Lee took office, maybe a good idea, instead of handing money to these globalist companies like Ford Motor Company, who fight against voter election reform, who push an LGBTQ agenda and who interfere in our medical freedom here in the state of Tennessee. Maybe you just give small businesses and taxpayers their money back. There's a novel idea. Next story. This is a good one. University of Memphis bribes professors to teach woke activism. The University of Memphis is offering $3,000 as an incentive to professors who incorporate teachings on critical race theory in their courses. It doesn't have to have anything to do with anything related to critical race theory. 15 to 20 professors will be chosen to pilot the program for the spring 2022 semester and the new course beginning in the fall semester. What a great way to spend Tennessee taxpayer money and time. One faculty member who asked to remain anonymous said it's already difficult for the university to keep faculty members due to the level of pay, so he questioned why funneling money into something of this nature is a good idea. We've had a hard time retaining good faculty at our salary levels, so anytime you see money being spent on non-student, non-faculty causes, it makes you scratch your head, the professor stated. Could this money be spent on students or retaining quality faculty rather than progressive agenda that isn't likely supported by the taxpayers of Tennessee? I wouldn't support it. The professor also was concerned that this new push will cause courses to become political in nature when they wouldn't be. The professor says, I'm not sure how changing an accounting, nursing, or engineering course to align with social justice principles helps students. Well, buddy, it's because it's not about helping students. Critical race theory and government teachings, whether it's the battles that groups like Moms for Liberty are having with our K through 12, where they're indoctrinating our children and teaching them to hate the color of their skin, or where they're taking our taxpayer dollars and teaching students right before they hit the workplace to go work for these large woke corporations that apparently control a lot of Republican politics in our state. Whoever it is, they're getting them trained in college, they're getting them trained in K through 12, and they're teaching them bad things so that they can later inculcate our culture. Here's another example. One of my alma maters where I got my master's in business administration. Next story. UTC committee seeks to make diversity, equity, and inclusion course a requirement. Lord, we just keep spending the taxpayer money in Tennessee. Great. I hope the legislature will pick up on some of this stuff and do something about it, because our taxpayer dollars should not go to institutions that are playing around with this stuff. A University of Tennessee Chattanooga Reimaging Committee is proposing a revamp of the general education program, in part to make room for a minimum of 6 hours of required diversity, equity, and inclusion courses for all students. The new proposal would cut several credit hours of math and humanities, because you really don't need to know about math and history when we can teach you how to hate your fellow man. What a great use. You know, a lot of these kids come out of school, they don't know how to manage debt, they don't know how to manage a checkbook, they don't know how to apply for a job, they don't know how to show up on time. We don't teach them that in college. We pile them up with a bunch of debt, and then we give them a bunch of worthless skills, and we put them out in the job force, and then we wonder why they're bitter and they can't make anything happen. It's because of crap like this. The UTC committee states that the current education curriculum lacks an in-depth examination of issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, nobody majors in that BS. And it's just a bunch of hate-filled neo-racism, and they need to get rid of it. The committee states that for UTC to achieve these goals, the school needs to make a substantial commitment to a curriculum that addresses diversity, equity, and inclusion in a significant way. One of the most effective ways to do this is through the general education curriculum, because it touches all students. We really can't just indoctrinate a few that are in women's studies and other crap like that. We really just need to put this, you know, if you're trying to be a math major, if you're trying to learn how to nurse people in a hospital, we need to teach you how to hate your fellow man, because if we can't do that, then God knows how you're going to get through life. We got Ellen from Kingsport. Thank you for joining us, Ellen. Next story. A federal judge blocks Head Start mandates in 24 states. A federal judge in Louisiana has blocked the Biden administration's vaccine mask mandate at Head Start preschools, granting a preliminary injunction for the 24 states involved in the lawsuit, including Tennessee. The mandate was set to begin on January 31st. In his ruling, U.S. District Judge Terry A. Doughty said that the injunction will remain in effect until the case is settled, and the thing is likely to go to the high courts, we imagine. The judge said this issue will clearly be decided by a higher court than this one. He wrote, the issue is important. The separation of powers has never been so thin. I agree. Kansas Attorney General Schmidt said the latest attempt by the Biden administration to centrally plan the daily lives of Americans in the name of mitigating COVID-19 is perhaps the most absurd so far. The federal government simply has no legal authority to order 2-year-olds to wear masks all day at preschool. What a bunch of evil people. Lord, the evil in the world it doesn't even hide anymore. And there's no pretense about it anymore. At least they used to try to do it in shadowy corners, and now they just come right out. Holly, thank you for watching from Knoxville. I appreciate you being here. The lawsuit claims that the mandate is beyond the authority of the executive branch and is against the law, violating the Administrative Procedures Act, notice and comment requirements that the Congressional Review Act and the non-delegation doctrine, the 10th Amendment, the anti-commandeering doctrine, the spending clause, and the Treasury and General Government Appropriation Acts of 1999. If you appreciate what we do here at the Tennessee Conservative by covering the conservative news that Tennessee's liberal media never ever will, about things that actually affect your life that you can change by picking up a phone, calling your representatives, etc. We're so worried about what's going on with the drama in Nashville, but we don't look or in D.C. rather, but we don't look at what's going on in Nashville. We don't look at what's going on in our county seats where we can truly make a difference and stop the creep of leftism and liberalism in our state. If you go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com and if you click that red support button, we'll send you 2 Proud Tennessee Conservative bumper stickers. I actually saw some of these going down the road the other day. I see them more frequently now than I ever have before. And I actually stopped in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru and talked to a gentleman and said, I appreciate you reading my publication. My wife thought I was crazy, but that has not changed. That has not changed. And if you give $50 or more or a recurring donation, we will send you this Proud Tennessee Conservative tumbler. And if you put in bad liberal CRT ideology in here, and if you shake it up and you pour it out, you can actually teach kids to read and write, which we apparently can't do in the volunteer state because only 1/4 of them are reading at grade level. But we got plenty of time to focus on CRT, and our kids that are graduating can't get jobs and they're covered up in debt. But we need to be doing that in our universities at your taxpayer expense. But if you put their curriculum in here and shook it up and poured it out, the kids might actually learn something because this has magical properties. It is hewn from some remnants of the metal left over from the sword Excalibur. These claims cannot be substantiated nor are they approved by the Food and Drug Administration. All right. Right back to the... Oh, we also send you this directory. I forgot to tell you that. Of all your state reps and state senators. And we're going through some midterms. And we're going through some primaries here before too long in our state. And maybe some of these names will change. Maybe we can get some of the rhinos off this list and put some constitutional conservatives in there. And that would be my hope. Next story. Majority of Tennesseans have little faith in health department pandemic recommendations, and this is funny. The Tennessee Department of Health posted an infographic highlighting their updated recommendations for prevention of COVID-19 and the Omicron variant. Along with the infographic, they posted the text, the best way to prevent the spread of this new variant or any new variant is to get vaccinated, get a booster if you're eligible, wear a mask in indoor public settings or in crowded environments or otherwise fear for your life. I just put that last part in there myself. This post prompted tons of negative comments. It's like 90+% negative, and it's so funny that an organization that's supposed to serve the entire state can be so at odds with the people it's trying to serve. And it's because our government in the last decade or so in Tennessee has gotten completely out of hand. Last story, 60,000 more moved to Tennessee during the span of 12 months. We're just now creating some Don't California My Tennessee bumper stickers. And I will be sending those or showing you those here, and we'll be including those in the donations here soon if you give to TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Carrie, thank you so much for watching from Castalian Springs, Tennessee. I don't know where that is, but it sounds nice. According to the charts sourced from federal census data, Tennessee gained approximately 60,000 possible conservative votes in the span of 12 months between July 2020 and July 2021. That's a big jump. Over 800,000 people have moved from states that instituted vaccine mandates for workers to states that either banned or blocked such mandates or had no policy, of which Tennessee was one. 4 blue states, California, Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, saw the largest net decrease in population when looking at migration of political party. Nearly 1 million people who called blue states home in 2020 now live in red states. Tennessee is one of the 8 states that saw an increase of at least 40,000 people moving to the state. Looking back to 2018-2019, there was a clear trend of migration already from blue to red. It appears that COVID and COVID policies were a massive accelerator, and I don't blame them. 2 Christian universities in Tennessee have ties to Planned Parenthood. Apparently, I'm a liar. There's another story here. It comes as no surprise that Planned Parenthood has a presence in most college and university campuses across America. After all, college students are their prime target. What may come as a shock is that Planned Parenthood is also corroborates with many Christian organizations and colleges to varying degrees. Students for Life has been checking up on Christian schools across the country since 2019 and conducting an extensive investigation. And here's what they found in the old state of Tennessee. We have about 2 organizations that claim to be Christian yet have affiliation with Planned Parenthood. One of them is Sewanee, which is pretty darn liberal. University of the South, an Episcopalian school, received a B rating from Students for Life for having Planned Parenthood promoted on a map and its community partner. Rhodes College, with Presbyterian affiliation, was given an F rating for many infractions that the Students for Life found, and many of them have them listed as places that you can go get assistance and help with reproductive needs, when what that really means is an opportunity to abort a young child. And Christian organizations should not have anything to do with these, with Planned Parenthood. And if you are an alumni or know somebody is of a Sewanee or Rhodes College, maybe you send them a little email and let them know they should probably send their alumni dollars somewhere. They're not pointing them toward an organization that likes to end life, which we know is rather not Christian. Brandon Lewis here. This is fast. I've got a 2 o'clock appointment, and it is 2 o'clock. So I'm going to hop off here, let you go back to living your life. Listen, go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com, subscribe to our e-newsletter. In case we ever get kicked off social media, God knows they'd never censor a conservative voice, and we've not seen much of that lately. Dr. Robert Malone, who I recently interviewed earlier in the year, has been kicked off of social media platforms. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rand Paul, we're seeing them all over the place. So please do go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com and let us get your contact information so we can contact you directly should we ever get the boot. So you tell the truth these days. Big tech's in collusion with a lot of folks. You will get the boot. Brandon Lewis with TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Do go there and hit that red support button. We need your help. Love you, mean it. Happy New Year. More to come next time. Talk to you soon.